Actually, I don't have the vinyl version of this, but I do have the CD version of it. And here it is. It is Genesis, 3 Sides Live. Came out in 82 after the 1981 tour that Genesis did of the United States and England. To go along with this, they actually have the video on VHS, believe it or not. I think they actually did re-release this on one of their box sets, so it's on DVD. But Genesis 3 Sides Live, yeah, audio and video. We're going to talk all about them because it's an interesting compilation. All right, so let's get to it. We'll go right to side 1, and it starts with, I'm going to zoom right in there. Oh, look, my ring light too. But there you go. You can see that it starts with Turn It On Again. Oh, it's a great song. What's the problem with that? So, in 1981, when they were on tour, Turn It On Again was actually like the last song they played, one of the last songs that they played. We go to the Setlist FM is a great website to look at set lists of bands in concert. And this particular version, let's start with 1981. They started with Behind the Lines, Duchess, and went on, and then Turn It On Again was like the 18th song that they did. It was right in after the In the Cage melody and before the encore. So it was one that they ended with all the time. And here's so they put it on this, the first song on the album, which is kind of bizarre. The order is completely out of order on the album of the way it was played, because this concert, if you went to the concert started with Behind the Lines, and we're going to hear a little bit of it now. But it was a great way to start the concert. Great way to start with Behind the Lines, which on the album is actually on side 2. Or on CD, it's the 4th song into the show. A lot of jumping around here, and not only jumping around with the concert order, but the actual venues. A bunch of this was actually recorded, I would say, maybe a little, half, let's say half, was recorded at Nassau Coliseum, November 29th, 1981. The other half was recorded in Birmingham, England, December 23rd, 1981. So they took a couple of different concerts and mixed them all together. They've got Nassau, we've got 2 dates in Birmingham, and then, believe it or not, they actually threw in some other songs from previous tours. So you had, by the time you get to Follow You, Follow Me, you're talking about a show from 1980. It was the London show that has been around forever, but they kind of threw it in. So it's very interesting that they did that. Behind the Lines kicked it off, and they go into Duchess and then Dodo Lurker. And to be fair, this is actually the 4th song in the concert. The 3rd song is not on this album, which is The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. And probably the reason for that is because it was released on another album, another live album. It was on Seconds Out, which came out in the late 70s in 77. We gotta love that synth sound in there.
Can't change the
So now what did he just say there? Because it sounded like Darth Vader. But I guess the original lyric is actually Dog Vader. But the way you listen to it, it's like, is he quoting a Star Wars movie there? That would be pretty hilarious if he was. After Dodo Lurker, they went into Abacab, which is another fan favorite. So if you were in the audience in 1981, you had Abacab followed by the Carpet Crawlers. Again, another song that was not on Three Sides Live because it was on the Second Solid album. I guess at the time they figured they didn't want to duplicate the stuff that he had put on one live album to another live album, which is pretty common. But now looking back 50 years later, it's like, why not just release everything? And if they have the tapes, they should. Another great moment of this concert was when they did the In the Cage melody, which was just stupendous because you have it's In the Cage, Phil Collins, and then goes into the Cinema Show and Afterglow, and you've got some Slipperman in there too. And it is 10 or 12 minutes long, and then it goes into, when you get into Afterglow, it's just like a beautiful transition. We're going to skip ahead from In the Cage and go into that transition. And then slowing it down. Yep. And then bringing it right down for Afterglow. And it's actually a really good... this actually ended the third side of Three Sides Live. The fourth side in the U.S. was studio recordings that from EPs that were recorded or released in England. Actually, the UK version of Three Sides Live, the fourth side was live, but it was all stuff from 1980, 78, and 76. So there are two competing versions out there. Another interesting thing too is that "Follow You, Follow Me" is on here, and that is also from 1980. That was part of that Lyceum show in London, so they snuck that in there. But it is great, and to see Genesis in '81 would have been really spectacular. It was just they were on that track where they were just breaking out. The Duke album had come out, and now they were on tour, and they were getting a lot more radio airplay. And it was going to get even crazier when the Mama album came out and Invisible Touch came out after that, and they became bona fide pop stars, really. They had moved from that progressive rock to more, call it mainstream rock, I guess, mainstream pop, and it was more accessible to audiences. So you go to a Genesis show in 1981 and you're getting the best of both worlds. Those later Genesis tours, I mean, I saw them in '92, and they did a medley of their old songs, and that's what they call it. It's a medley of our old songs. So here you go. And they played 3 or 4, and it was like, it's okay, but it's like everything else was filled with the pop hits. One of those songs, though, that they did, which is always a great audience favorite, is I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe. And they didn't play it, they didn't put it on the album on Three Sides Live, again, because it was on Seconds Out 4 years earlier. If you have access to the internet, and if you're watching this, obviously you do, there are, it's probably out on YouTube, the Genesis show at Nassau Coliseum in '81 was also recorded for radio airplay, so it was put out on like Westwood One concert series, things like that. So you can actually get more of that actual concert and string it together, which is what I did. I made a mix of Three Sides Live. It's like, we're going to put it in order, and we're going to add in the songs that I like. And you've got Dance on a Volcano and the drum duet and Los Endos and I Know What I Like, because that's part of what that experience was in '81. And the video too, the video was actually recorded in, and here's the video again. The video was filmed at Nassau and at the Savoy Theater in New York, November 28th and 29th, 1981. And I'm not going to risk the copyright police on this, because it seems when I do upload video, I get a little knock on the door and say, hey, you're uploading video. Let's be careful of that. So it is out there, and it is out on DVD. You can get it. I think Blu-ray too. And it's not bad. You see Genesis in their prime, and that's what Three Sides Live was. Just a great album. It was like the perfect live album at the time to sample what Genesis was all about. And like I said, they came from this progressive side where you're doing all this really weird experimental kind of stuff. It's like, especially certainly when Peter Gabriel was in the band, and then he left, and he took a lot of that with him. So now you have Phil Collins and influencing it, and it's that more poppy sound to it. And they still had some of those little bit longer songs, a little bit more experimental songs, but they were gelling into a radio-friendly fan favorite. And that's what Three Sides Live is. So if you haven't heard it, you should go get a copy of it. It's out there. It's on. You can get it on the wherever your streaming music is coming from. And it's a good one. So hope you liked it. Enjoy Genesis Three Sides Live. We'll see you again next time on Gary's Record Collection.